What's going on, guys? My name is Trevor. Welcome back to the channel. We're nearing the end of 2023. We're coming up on all these end of the year top 10 lists. But before I give you my best, my worst, my surprising, and my disappointing, today I'm sharing with you my top 10 picks for the most underrated movies of 2023. The 10 movies that I think were completely underseen, just kind of flew under the radar, that actually were really good and no one ended up seeing. Let me know what your guys' picks are for the most underrated movies down below in the comments section. These aren't movies that necessarily deem the best of the year, just movies that I think were really good that literally no one really saw. Let me know your list down below. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell. One final thing before we get started, none of these movies are in order. These are just the 10 movies that I truly believe are underrated from the year. First up, we have M. Night Shyamalan's Knock at the Cabin. I feel like this is one of those movies that actually was really good, but people were a little bit over and tired of M. Night's kind of previous movies. So coming into this one, I didn't have high hopes. I was kind of like, alright, the trailers look good. I'm a fan of some of M. Night's movies, and this was a really good psychological thriller that really messed with your mind a little bit, had those horror aspects, and had a little bit more of like an overall kind of vision that I guess M. Night was really going for. This is based off a novel, not one of his actual movies with like his own twist. So they had something to work with here. Dave Bautista gives a fantastic, really underrated performance. And I truly just think this is one of those movies that, again, everyone was like, M. Night's doing it, I'm not watching it. And you should have, because it was actually really solid. Next up, I have XMas. This is like one of those free TV movies, and I was thoroughly surprised by this. It's a Christmas movie about two people who are no longer in a relationship, and they're at the same kind of family gatherings. It's something we've seen before, but it was fun. It was cute. I laughed out loud several times. And by no means is this a great movie, because it's not. It's really cheesy. It's formulaic. You've seen this time and time again. But I feel like it's for a TV movie, it had to make this list, because most TV movies are like, turn this off. It's awful. The acting was pretty good. The story, while it is, yes, very cliche, it was engaging. And these characters, you really relate to them. Some things a little absurd. I understand that. But again, for being like a free VTV movies, I was like, this had no right to be this good, because I was expecting just a cheese fest all over. I smiled and I had fun with it. Next up, we have a Guy Ritchie movie, Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerrero. This is probably the #1 most underrated movie of the entire year, because no one even knew this movie freaking came out. It barely got a trailer. It was supposed to come out like 2 years ago. And then all of a sudden, it kind of just dropped, and then everyone was talking about Guy Ritchie's movie, The Covenant, which came out just a couple weeks later. Operation Fortune, Ruse de Guerrero is an action-packed, fun time that set it up to be more like a franchise for like this movie, but they're obviously not going to get it because no one saw this movie. I don't think anyone even realized it was in theaters. This is the one movie I went to this year. My wife and I went to go see it. We were the only people in the theater. The only time that happened this year. Literally no one else. And we were laughing. We were having so much fun. It's a little bit of Fast and Furious mixed with like Mission Impossible. Made for a fun movie. These characters are witty. I love Jason Statham. Guy Ritchie knows how to do these twists, these turns, have fun, and have great action in there. And it's one of those movies, again, that no one saw. It's on Amazon Prime for free right now. You might think this is something you've seen before, but for a movie that literally just went into theaters, out of theaters, on Amazon Prime, this is 100% worth your time, because it's a ton of fun, and I love Guy Ritchie. I'm a diehard Guy Ritchie fan. He's one of my favorite working directors, and the fact that he made a movie that I'm guessing everyone projected was going to suck or bomb, and for me it didn't, I'm gassed. Next up, we have White Men Can't Jump. Jack Harlow on Hulu. It's a remake. This movie's going to be awful. It wasn't. I laughed uncontrollably throughout this movie. Obviously, it's remakes. We've seen it before. But Jack Harlow, for being his first movie, the dude carried. The dude killed it. And for being as big as Jack Harlow is, big arena guy, selling out tours, you think that more people would even know that this movie came out on Hulu. But my goodness, was it such a pleasant surprise. Jack Harlow, for his first ever movie, the dude crushes it. He's hilarious. The basketball scenes are done really well. And again, it is a remake, so you know what the story is. You know where the story is going to go. But it has a little brotherhood story. You and like a homie just getting to know each other, coming from different worlds, but you combine together. It was just a ton of fun. I literally said throughout the entire movie, I'm having way more fun than I expected with this. It's, again, one of those movies that went straight to streaming, and it kind of just got lost in the sauce. It's a Jack Harlow movie. I don't really like Jack Harlow's music, but I loved him in this movie. Next up, I have Pixar's Elemental. I love this one. It's one of my favorite animated movies of the year, and it's been a fantastic year for animated movies. But this is one of those movies where everyone's like, I'm over Pixar. It doesn't look good. It looks kind of like a Zootopia remake. This is a fire, pun intended if you've seen the movie, Pixar movie, and one of my top 10 favorite Pixar movies for that matter. It's a romantic comedy of two people from literally different elements, water and fire, squashing their differences and coming together. It's sweet, it has those emotional beats in there, and it has a romantic comedy vibe throughout the entire movie, and it ended up doing pretty good at the box office. But this is one of those Pixar movies that I think that everyone was so quick to hate on. Everyone just went, you know what, it's trash, it's just something we've seen before, I'm done, Pixar's lost its magic. For me, this had the Pixar magic. For me, Pixar really hasn't really lost track. I've enjoyed all their last couple movies, and I enjoyed Elemental so much. Next up, we have No Hard Feelings. I just watched this one on Netflix a couple weeks ago, and while it is absurd with its humor, it also is very funny throughout it. Jennifer Lawrence is going away from those serious Oscar roles and making a romantic comedy, and she kills it throughout this film. It came out back in June. I never got around to seeing it. Most people I know didn't get around to seeing it, but when it came on Netflix, I was like, this is the perfect time to catch up on this movie. My wife and I laughed. At times, again, you're rolling your eyes. It is a little bit silly, but it's a Jennifer Lawrence movie. She has a pretty big name. It's a romantic comedy, so you think that the movie would have done better at the box office. You think that it would have been trending on Netflix longer than it was. It kind of just snuck under the radar for a really funny movie, and for a year of movies where there isn't a lot of good comedies, this is easily the best comedy of the entire year. All these movies really just kind of came into theaters and kind of snuck their way out of theaters. Jennifer Lawrence and No Hard Feelings was a ton of fun. A little absurd. There's a couple of decisions they made I was not a big fan of. But by the end, I said, you know what? I had fun. I can't believe no one's talking about it. Next, we have TMNT Mutant Mayhem. I'm a Ninja Turtles guy. I absolutely love the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I went with one of my buddies to go see this movie, and we had a blast with these characters. It is the first time the Ninja Turtles are actually the younger teenage aspect of them. And when we went to a really early screening. It was like 2 weeks before the movie came out, and it was a jam-packed theater. Everyone went to go see it. And of course, when they had like these discounted early access movies, you gotta go see it. So the theater was slammed. Everyone enjoyed it. We all got posters. We were having so much fun. The voice casting is great. The animation style is fantastic. TMNT came out in August, which is notoriously a very not good month for movies. Everyone goes back to school. Summer's coming to an end. But TMNT was one of those movies that came out at the tail end of summer, and it was just the most fun I've had at theaters because I was laughing. I love the soundtrack. I love the animation style, and I was just into these characters so much. Then we have David Fincher's The Killer. This movie was advertised everywhere. I'm not even sure if it hit number 1 on Netflix. If it did, it was a very brief time, which is kind of absurd because this is David Fincher we're talking about. This is one of the juggernauts in directing today. Not a lot of people, including myself, not a fan of his last movie in Mank. But just gotta talk about this guy's filmography, from Gone Girl to Fight Club to Seven to what he did in TV with Mindhunter, those 2 seasons. The dude knows what he's doing. And with The Killer, at times I wasn't all into that movie, but it goes into like what it's like to be perfect, have a perfect hitman. He doesn't reach that level of perfection that he's looking for, so all of a sudden you're going down with this guy as he's kind of spiraling down and everything starts coming at him. Has one of the best hand-to-hand combat fight scenes I've ever seen in my life, and for a David Fincher movie, you gotta think more people should be talking about this one. At number 2, Gran Turismo. This isn't just one of the most underrated movies of the year. This is one of my favorite movies of the year. It's on Netflix right now if you haven't seen it. Do yourself a favor, check it out. Really underperformed at the box office. But Gran Turismo is a feel-good movie, the most inspiring movie, and one of those movies that pays homage to one of those childhood video games that at least I grew up playing. And this movie's epic. The CGI and the race scenes look so good. David Harbour just crushes it throughout this film. A guy who's kind of down on his luck really turns his life around. Orlando Bloom, it's great to see Legolas and Will Turner back on the big screen. But this story is so inspiring, and it is absolutely insane that this movie was so underseen as it was. And it's absolutely insane that this movie was based on a true story. And I think the big problem what happened with this movie, why I have it on the underrated list, they play the same trailer every time. You can hate me now, but I won't stop now. They kept playing that song. Every time we went to the movies, they played the same trailer. They should have done a little more advertising, a little bit more marketing for a couple of different trailers in there, and I think it would have done even better at the box office. I might be mistaken. It might have crushed it. I don't believe it did, but I love this one, and it was a shame that no one went to go see it. I was telling everyone about it. And finally, for this list, I have Blackberry. I just watched this movie last night at the time of recording this video, and Blackberry is arguably the Oscar movie that will not get nominated. It had such great performances, such a great score, a very interesting directing style. It was like a documentary. It felt like the episode of The Office, how they have the zoom ins, the camera constantly moving. It felt like they literally went to Blackberry and they just filmed these guys running around and making a buttload of money. This story is insane. The performances are fantastic. It is subtly hilarious, and it's the rise and fall of what used to be Blackberry. It's an insane movie. It's one of my favorites of the year again, and it's one of those movies that I didn't even know came out. I knew it was coming out, but I didn't even know it hit theaters, hit streaming, or anything. Terrible marketing for this movie. That's why it's on the underrated list, but you need to see it. Of all these movies, if you can only watch one, watch Blackberry. It will not disappoint you. That's going to do it for my top 10 most underrated movies of the 2023 year. Cannot believe we're wrapping up. 7 days till Christmas. What's going on? This is absolutely insane. Hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, as well as commenting down below your top 10 most underrated movies. Thank you guys so much for being here and for watching. I'll see you in the next one.